Thank you for tuning in to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, where we discuss the latest news, rumors, and games of the NFL and college football. As always, I'm Jeremiah.
And I'm Anthony.
And welcome back, Anthony.
Thank you.
All right. It is Wednesday here in the middle, actually the first full week of April. It's the 5th of April here, 2017. We're recording this 8:30 in the morning. And I had a lot to talk about yesterday, Anthony. I'm not sure if you listened to the show yesterday. Of course, Tony Romo.
Yeah.
We got to continue the discussion on that. And let's start the show off talking about Tony Romo. So yesterday, I did say he was walking away from the game, joined CBS to replace Phil Simms. So I discussed all that news. But a lot of teams, well, I shouldn't say a lot, but there are two teams that are going to be impacted by Tony Romo walking away from the game. And, of course, the obvious ones are the Houston Texans and the Denver Broncos. And I really thought Tony Romo would have been I really thought he was going to go to Houston. I really thought there was a good chance for him to go to Denver. He's not going to play for either of those teams. So I just want to let you know something.
He's playing for the CBS team.
And guess what? Tom Savage is a starting quarterback for the Texans. Trevor Siemian's probably going to be the starting quarterback for the Broncos, while you have Jay Cutler and Colin Kaepernick on a free agent market there.
I mean, you talk about Tom Savage. But also they had Brock Osweiler, so Houston's kind of – they understand the bad quarterback situation. They've kind of been used to it. This is not new to them. They got rid of the really bad one, and now the other one's just maybe him. Maybe he'll be better. They're just hoping that it's not as bad as what Osweiler was last year, because Savage came in a little bit. Okay, that looked pretty good. And then maybe Houston decides to basically trade a bunch of their picks to trade up to try to get Watson or something like that. But, at least as of right now, I got to think Houston fans are like, well, at least it's not as bad as last year. You saw how bad Osweiler was. You wanted Tony Romo, that's fine. But even if you got him, he was still damaged goods, basically, right? He was behind a really good offensive line in Dallas, and he still got crunched and was out for the year. He wasn't supposed to be out for the year, but he ended up being out for still a long period of time, and that was behind a good offensive line. Both Denver and Houston are not that.
No, they're not.
So, there's no guarantee, even if you would have gotten the guy that you wanted in Tony Romo, that he would have been able to stay upright and vertical the entire season. Odds are at one point he probably would have done something to tweak his back, tweak his shoulder, tweak his leg, tweak something, and then they'd kind of be right back where they were. So at least at this point, maybe they go after Jay Cutler. Jay Cutler, honest to God, Jay Cutler is the, football equivalent of the bad boy that the girl dates. No, I can change him. He's better. He'll be fine. No, he won't. He will cheat on you again. This is not how you think it's going to be. Jay Cutler will still throw those interceptions and not care about it. He will go to the sideline, he will shrug his shoulders, and then he will go to Mexico and take Instagram photos. Not the same thing. He does not care.
All right. I love the Instagram photo reference there.
He does not care about you, Jay Cutler.
He doesn't. And I really do think Houston has to evaluate every option at this point. They are a playoff team.
Yeah. Well, they were, yeah.
But I really thought Tony Romo was going to be the guy to get him over the hump a little bit. They're still a quarterback away from being a real championship contender. And I'm not going to say that, if they add Jay Cutler, they're going to go to the Super Bowl. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say if they get Colin Kaepernick, I'm not going to go that far either. But I do think that
Houston's not getting Kaepernick.
They're not, but you have to throw that option out there. I'm just strictly doing football talk here.
Okay.
I want to take the politics out of it.
It's fine.
But at this point, you have to be desperate enough. You have to take a chance on Kaepernick. I don't care what you think about his politics. At this point, you shouldn't even care. You shouldn't even care at all. You shouldn't care.
I think the thing with Houston, right, is if they get a quarterback, everything gets locked up, right? Basically, you got a running situation that's fine. You got a wide receiver core that's good enough. You got a defense that's really, really good. Quarterback is only one, and oddly enough, it's the most important thing of the whole roster. But if you figure that out, you're good. So if you were Houston, do you honestly, like, if you like a quarterback, right? If you watched Watson in the national title game and you're like, look, man, let's just get that. Like, forget everything else. We're going to get him. He's going to be cheap. You don't have to pay him for like 3 or 4 years. Just get him and let's just pray that he does well. Because even if you get Cutler, or even if you get Kaepernick, or even if you get, who else is kind of a free agent that would do any kind of thing? Like, even if you just like put all of the little voodoo dolls in the corner and say like, okay, let's go get RG3 or something like that, right? Like, you kind of know what all their ceilings are. You know how as good as Cutler can be, which is kind of high, but also there's a lot of downfalls there. Kaepernick, you know how good he can be, but also you kind of got to do a couple things to make him the best he can possibly be. With Watson, maybe if you see something you like, you just kind of go with it and you just hope that he reaches his potential or at least can do enough, Russell Wilson-y kind of things in his first few years in the league to actually get you to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I do think the next option, or I should say the realistic option I can really see Houston doing to fill that quarterback position is to get it in the draft. I think they have the 25th pick. I think there's going to be a quarterback available there. I don't think there's going to be a quarterback. I'm predicting the first quarterback in this draft is either going to be picked at number 6 in New York or number 12 to the Browns, or the Saints can take one at 11 or 32. So,
I don't think. Here's the thing: like, I think they go way before that because generally, outside of that 1 year where you had like offensive linemen go basically in the first 5 picks, like generally you have a quarterback taken pretty high.
I just don't see a quarterback being taken until the 6th pick.
Well, I'm not saying that like the teams that are drafting where they're drafting are going to take him, right? That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that some teams trade up, right? Like, because you look at it, yeah, Cleveland probably should take a quarterback, but they just spent a bunch of money to get Osweiler. And the Niners, yeah, they probably should take a quarterback, but maybe they want to get like defense or something like that. That doesn't mean they don't trade with a team like the Jets, who are, the Jets, and they're going to do dumb stuff. So maybe they're like, oh, let's, get the first overall picks. That way we don't get, something happening before. Even Chicago wants to trade up a little bit more. Or maybe Houston, like I said, just like, here's a 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th round pick. Give us the number 1 overall pick kind of thing like that. Like, I can see those things happening because outside of a couple of years, quarterbacks generally get taken high, for better or for worse. Like, yeah, you can talk about Jared Goff being bad last year, but at least teams always want to have that good quarterback, right? Or at least a potentially good quarterback. So I can see that happening. The other thing I didn't realize is like, okay, Romo's gone, right? He basically replaced Phil Simms in the booth. And he retired. He didn't get cut. He didn't get traded. He retired, which isn't as good as getting traded, but also isn't half as bad as being cut. Because cut, then the team still owes you a bunch of money because, the contract and everything. But once you retire, then all of a sudden that frees up some money right now for Dallas to go and do some stuff, which is actually pretty nice for the Cowboys. Like I said, it's not as much that they traded literally all of his salary away, but it does give them a few more millions of dollars to basically figure out if they want to go invest a little bit more in an offensive lineman, since one of them, Free, I think he was retired, or go grab some defensive players to basically kind of shore up that end of the field too.
Yeah, and it's crazy because Tony Romo, I think he won't be released till June 1st. I think it's been designated that June 1st release or something like that.
Yeah, there's stipulations with when you can do it and how much. Yeah.
It's amazing how he goes straight to the number 1 broadcast team in CBS.
Yeah, that's a funny thing. Like, it was just like, he'll replace Phil Simms. Wait, what? He's not even getting like some like, we're going to start you off with the bad Jaguars-Titans game. Like, no, just going to go straight to...
he's going to call games that involve the Patriots and probably, let's just say, Green Bay if they were playing on CBS. He's going to have the game of the week on that network.
The thing is, like...
And he's doing Thursday Night Football.
Thing is, like, you see this with, like, basketball, right? Like, basketball players will come in, be the color commentator for certain things. College football, or not college football, football in general, they'll do the same thing where people come in who were players and they know what to say, because obviously with Tony Romo, if he sees someone on the Cowboys doing something well, it's like, oh, yeah, Zeke, da-da-da-da, like I saw him do this in practice, or I saw Des Bryant do this in practice, or even if it's on something else, if he's broadcasting, like I said, a Packers game or something like that, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, like I remember this kind of style. McCarthy tends to run this scheme. Watch the safety, he's going to come over and blitz right here. Like they can see these things because obviously they've seen it over the last like however many years. So I think he'll be fine in that aspect. And he's been on TV kind of doing interviews. You can see that he's kind of, fun, joking around, kind of a guy that's, going to be good in broadcasting like that. Like I think he'll do fine with it. It was just surprising. It was like, oh, cool. So he's not even going to get like the bad games. He's just going to be like, okay, cool. Let's talk, call the Patriots game. All right, have fun. Throw him right in the deep end right away. Don't drown, have fun.
All
kind
right.
of stuff.
Yeah, I know he's going to have a lot of pressure to, perform in the number one broadcast team.
Yeah. And
another team that really kind of loses out in Tony Romo walking away from the game is Denver. And, I really thought if he was going to be released by the Cowboys sometime this offseason, they would have pounced on him.
I always thought it was Denver. I never thought it was Houston just because I thought Houston, like, there's no way Jerry Jones lets his prized quarterback baby go to somewhere else in the state of Texas.
The reason why I thought Houston was a better team for him is because they're in a easier division.
Yeah. Oh, no. It was a better team by far. I'm talking about how Jerry Jones basically been look, man, please don't do this to me. Like, I will make this worth your while. Please do not go to the same team in my state. Like, I want to basically win the state of Texas. Do not go somewhere else, in Texas. Go to Denver, go to New York, go wherever you want to, just not Houston.
Well, it looks like Denver is going with their young guns over there with Trevor Siemian and Paxton Lynch.
Have fun with that.
So I think Trevor Siemian is going to win the starting job again. And, if Paxton Lynch doesn't, perform like a first-round draft pick, I don't know. I think they might have to consider another quarterback in 2018.
Right.
So that remains to be seen. But as of now, the Texans are going to go with Tom Savage unless they draft a quarterback, which I think they're going to do now. And it looks like Denver is going to go all hands on deck with Trevor Siemian and or Paxton Lynch. Maybe both of them. Who knows?
They'll probably just rotate back and forth, yeah.
They play one game. Like, Siemian plays the road games. Paxton Lynch plays the home games. I don't know. I'm kidding. That would be dumb. That would be dumb. All right, we're going to take our first break here. And when we get back, I think we're going to discuss – what are we going to discuss?
So we're going to talk about – well, we got a couple of fun things.
Oh, you know what? No, we're going to do our top 20
we're not going to do the fun stuff. The fun stuff comes in the last segment.
We're going to do our top 20 Romo moments when we return to the Guns to Me Concepts Football Podcast.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
And welcome back to Guns to Me Concepts Football Podcast. And, we're sticking with the Tony Romo thing. And I know I'm not trying to throw Tony Romo down your guys' throat. I'm not trying to push that agenda to you. It's just, it's Wednesday, and there hasn't been many news to come out. Slow news day, people.
Right.
So, in honor of Tony Romo walking away from the game, he did say there is a 99.9% chance he won't come back. So there is that point.
That 0.1 or that 1% chance that he comes back.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, I think he might want to right now because you get him so close to the end of the season, right? Like, you get him close to when the season ended, and he's still probably pissed off because Dak Prescott took his job, and then he also took Phil Simms' job, which is kind of funny poetry in that aspect. But I can see him, right now saying, maybe I come back. Then he's going to get that TV gig, and he may do the whole John Gruden where it's just like, you know what? I get paid a lot of money to just basically talk about games. I'm going to have to get hit. I'm going to have these surgeries. No one wants to get surgery. whether it's minor or major, like no one wants surgery. No one wants to have a knife basically sliced into you and you wake up and you feel all groggy and woozy, and no one likes that. So maybe he just probably gets to like, I don't know, December or something like that, and it's just like, I mean, my shoulder feels good. My back feels good. My legs feel good. Yeah, I'm staying here. Cool. Denver, Houston, have fun with this. I'm not coming back. I actually, don't have to wake up and be in pain. I like this. I'm staying right here.
Yeah, and, he doesn't have to go through all that training camp and all that. He doesn't have to, he doesn't have to do that practice throughout the whole entire week. Basically, Romo is basically doing he's basically traveling for games, but he's only going twice a week for one time.
Sure.
Yeah, I think he's going to broadcast for the Thursday night football games as well, because since he is part of the number one broadcast team, and of course he is going to do the game of the week on CBS.
Right.
So he's going to be in two stadiums, but he's not playing. So
speaking of that, did you see that Amazon's cut a deal basically to start broadcasting games?
And we were going to talk about that at the end of the show.
Yeah, so I'm just going to be interested to see what happens with all of that with Tony Romo and how Amazon kind of splices with all of that. The thing with Romo is he seems like the guy, he seems like he'll be fine in the booth. I don't think he'll be, the best or the worst. I think he'll do pretty fine and then kind of get better as you go along. Do you think that if the Texans are, because the division's still terrible, right? That division's not going to get any better no matter how good you think the Colts might actually be or how good the Titans might be later on. I'm not going to say the Jaguars because the Jaguars. But do you think we'll hear reports in, call it late November, early December, once the season's already kind of getting underway? Do you think we get reports basically if whoever the quarterback is for Houston, because it's saying, Bill O'Brien says they'll not likely start a rookie quarterback, which means they'll probably go, either in free agency or go with Simeon, right? So it doesn't look like the Texans are actually going to draft a quarterback like that. At least that's what they say right now. Who knows what'll actually happen? Do you think the Star gets reports saying oh, Tony Romo feels restless, or oh, Tony Romo, was seen talking to, I don't know what the owner of the Texans is or whatever, but do you think we start getting these reports basically mid-year of basically oh, Tony Romo's getting that itch again?
Yeah, we might. He might be. Tony Romo might be the next Brett Favre.
Just all of a sudden,
there's a
possibility. Yeah, but Favre actually kept coming back.
Yeah, not only that, honestly, I think there may be a chance that Tony Romo comes back before training camp.
Yeah.
There's always that chance.
There is a chance that he does that. The problem is if he does that, I don't know how that works with the retirement. I don't know if whatever money he was supposed to get, they kind of take it away. I don't know exactly the rules with that, but I think he will get that itch or whatever. But I also think that once you retire, right? Who comes back from retirement? We heard the whole stuff about Marshawn Lynch, right? About he might come back or whatever. Well, so far he hasn't, and maybe he will. But generally, once you retire from football, you don't come back. It's not like baseball where you can take a year off and maybe you can come back, or basketball where you can, Lance Stevenson basically, where he was AWOL for a little bit and he's decided to come back in the NBA. With football, you don't generally decide to stop taking hits for a year and come back and do it again. That dude Anthony Davis for the Niners, the lineman, he retired and then he came back for a year and then he was just yeah, you know what? I kind of like this whole retirement thing. I'm going to do that again. I'm leaving again. All right, bye, guys. Have fun. If Romo does actually decide to commit to this whole retiring thing, I don't think he actually reverses it.
No, I don't think either. And honestly, with him retiring, I kind of think he kind of made the right decision. I talked about that yesterday. He had injuries since, 2008, 2009.
Mm-hmm.
He's had an injury every year.
Yeah.
And I really did think that he only played in 4 games throughout the last 2 seasons.
Right.
And
some of that's his fault. Some of that's not his fault.
Some of it is, yeah.
Some of that's Dak Prescott doing well, and they're keeping the guy that's going, yeah.
Yeah, and, if Dak Prescott never would have played well, I think Tony Romo would have still been a Cowboy right now. If it wasn't for the emergence of Dak Prescott, Tony Romo would have been a Dallas Cowboy right now.
Well, it's not even the emergence of Dak Prescott, while that also helps as well. It's the fact that they were winning, right? If Dak Prescott was playing how he was playing, but through, call it 10 games, they were 5-5, Romo would have come back. It's the fact that they were winning basically all but 2 of their games this year. That basically made it to where, because Ben and I were talking about this on the sports podcast, superstition, right? he would do things where he'd have to wear a Packers shirt the year the Packers won the Super Bowl. Like me being a Dolphins fan, like, you know, there's been no Super Bowls in my lifetime, but like the fact that, you know, early 2000s when the Dolphins were good, my dad would have the little dog that we have, this little mini Shih Tzu Karen Terrier dog, sit in like one spot in the living room. Made no sense, but it was like superstitious, right? It was like, oh, this is going to work, even though half the time it didn't. You know, we're going to put him over there and it's going to be great. And football teams kind of do the same thing. It's like, no, but we have this quarterback. He's going to do great. Yeah, but Tony Romo's one of the best quarterbacks in the last like 10, 15 years. No, it's fine. We got Dak. He's winning. We're going to keep the winning. It's going to be fine. We're going to keep winning with him. You can probably win with Romo. No. We're going to keep it with Dak. Like, they're superstitious as well.
Yeah, and, you know, with Tony Romo walking away from the game, I think it's time that we talked about our favorite moments from his career. And he had quite a career for the Cowboys. You know, he's not going to be remembered as – I think, honestly, the best way I can sum up Tony Romo's career is it can go one or two ways. It can either be what could have been, or maybe he was just injury prone. What could have been, or he can be one of the underappreciated players.
I don't think his career is going to be known for what could have been, because that only happened at the end of his career. Like,
the reason why I say that is because he never got to the championship game. He never played in the NFC championship game. He never played in the Super Bowl.
Right.
I do think that's the reason why it could go that way.
Yeah, but I don't think that becomes a whole, like, what could have been, because that's, I feel like, the nice way of looking at it. I feel like Dallas fans will just be like, you idiot, why didn't you make it to a Super Bowl? Like, they're going to have more, like, anger and bile towards him. It's not going to be the thing of just like, oh, well, you know, if he would have just been healthy, because that's what we extend to people who were, like, injured, right? Like, if he would have, like, what's his name? Bridgewater in Minnesota. That's the whole, like, what could have been kind of situation if he doesn't come back from this whole basically leg almost getting amputated thing. Like, that could be a what could have been. For a Romo, it's just like, you idiot, why did you never make it to the Super Bowl? Look at the teams that you had. That offensive line basically made it like you were playing behind pillows. Like, come on. Like,
yeah, I think he didn't play with a guy like Zeke. And I do remember he did play.
He never played with Zeke, yeah.
He never played with Zeke.
But he played with DeMarco Murray.
He did, but, you know, Zeke is on a whole nother level.
On a few different ways.
In a few different ways, yeah.
But he had Des Bryant, he had DeMarco Murray, he had a good offensive line. Like, he always, maybe not like as good as they have it right now, but he was still pretty good. So there's two things that I remember Tony Romo for. You got a different one than me, but like, there's two things I remember him for. One, obviously, is a botch snap, which is unfair to him because that's not even him being a quarterback. That's just him getting the ball and then like, oh, God.
He was known for that for a while.
He's still known for that, man.
Well, you know, that like okay, to be fair, but that was his playoff legacy.
Right.
Well, it still is.
Because that's before he'd ever won a playoff game. Like, it was always just like that was the thing that he was known for because he never made it far. Like, he never won a playoff game, so that was his one playoff quote-unquote moment. And then, unfortunately, it's not necessarily him, although he threw the pass, but it's a Des Bryant catch, or not a catch, or whatever you want to call it. Like, that is his lasting legacy, right?
Des caught it.
Also yes. But, like, those two things are basically the thing that he's known for. Yours is a little bit different. You have a more of a warrior mentality with yours, but I think a lot of people...
I think the reason why I went with my moments is
against your team?
Yes, and I talked about these yesterday. And, you know... I remember watching this game in 2011. It was week 3. Jim Harbaugh was the coach for the 49ers. And the Niners were up 24-14. I remember this game very well. This is the reason why I think this is one of my favorite moments, because it kind of defines me of what type of player and what type of quarterback Tony Romo was at that point in time in his career. So, 49ers were up by 2 scores. Yep. I think it was the fourth quarter. I think it was like halfway over. John Kitna was in the game throughout most of it because Tony Romo was ruled out of the game due to, I think it was a rib injury or a punctured lung. That's what it was. Punctured lung.
Right, yeah.
Punctured lung, I think, in the first half. So, you know, the Cowboys, they look like they're about to lose to Jim Harbaugh's 49ers in 2011. And this was a really great 49ers team. Mm-hmm. This was the first year that Jim Harbaugh was in the league. And this is when they went on that little mini run. But, you know, Tony Romo comes back in the game. and he goes for he rallies the Cowboys back from 10 points down in the final 2 drives to force overtime. And that was impressive in itself. And when overtime comes, he passes it on a play action pass to Jesse Hawley. This is the one play Jesse Hawley is known for. He throws it to Jesse Hawley, who goes 77 yards to the 1 to set up a game-winning field goal for Dan Bailey. And this is probably the top moment I will probably remember Tony Romo most, because it was against the 49ers. I'm not going to lie, but honestly, I was very I wasn't shocked, so to speak, but I was amazed at what he can do, being 50%. He was probably 40% at that game.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Like, Romo, we give him a lot of, crap about what he's been, man, but, statistically, he's the best quarterback in the history of Dallas. Now, you can say whether that's because it's new NFL where you pass more or whatever. Statistically, he's the best that there's been. Now, would you take Staubach over him? Probably, yeah, still. And people would still take Aikman over him, although if you look at Aikman, he only threw more than 20 touchdown passes once in a season. So
it was a different time.
Yeah, but it was also the same time as Dan Marino and Warren Moon and people like that.
Yeah, that is true, but they
might be outliers.
Troy Aikman did play with Emmitt Smith and Michael Irvin, so that did help a little bit.
Well, the Irvin part doesn't help his case of saying it's a different NFL. The Emmitt Smith helps his case out, but yeah, you're saying you have one of the best wide receivers in the history of the game. You probably should get him the ball more. But yeah, I'm not going to totally hold that against Aikman. That's just how they wanted to play, right? Montana didn't throw for a bunch of yards, but that was the system that they had. I'm not going to kill Aikman for that, but I'm saying Romo is one of the top quarterbacks in the history of the Cowboys. He is one of the best they've ever had, but because they never did any actual winning, he's going to get looked at as someone who was just, there, kind of like a gap. If Dak Prescott comes out and in 2 years wins the Super Bowl, we're going to basically look at that 10, 12-year stretch. Tony Romo is just that was just a nice little filler year before the actual winning started. We're going to be mean to him, which is kind of sucks.
Yeah, and so you went with...
And I went with... You
went with the worst moment of his career.
I mean, but those stick out, man.
Yeah.
What do you want?
And I went with the best moment. But honestly, though, there's two of the most memorable moments in Tony Romo's career. One good. And that pretty much, I think that really defines his career. There was a lot of ups and downs.
Right.
There was really bad times and there was good times. So I think that's the best way to put it. But I'm really excited to see what Tony Romo can do in the broadcasting booth. And you never know. You're going to have all these rumors swirling around. Oh, he's got that itch again. I wouldn't be surprised if it comes out this summer. So, yeah. All right, we're going to take our final break. And guess what, Anthony? We're getting to the fun stuff now.
Yeah.
We're getting to the fun stuff now. We're going to talk about Amazon. That's right, Amazon. Gronk at WrestleMania?
My boy.
And then we're going to talk about Chad Johnson, a.k.a. Chad Ochocinco, playing in Mexico?
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to discuss those things when we return to the Going to Me Concepts Football Podcast.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
And welcome back to the Going to Me Concepts Football Podcast. And we have some stories that we haven't got to yet throughout the week. Mainly because I kind of wanted to talk about a couple of things here. With Anthony, it wouldn't be as funny by myself.
Okay.
But we're going to start off with Amazon. The news did come out last night that Amazon they got the rights to broadcast Thursday night football games.
Right.
I believe they paid for like over $50 million to stream.
$50 million, yeah.
To stream
kind of
Thursday
the same
Night Football.
thing.
Yeah,
the same thing that what Twitter did last year, basically being able to see the Thursday Night Football games there while also being able to watch it on NFL Network or CBS.
Yeah, and I like the fact that I actually like the idea of Twitter broadcasting games live. I kind of think that's the way that professional sports is going to go. They're going to stream it live on some type of service. But, I don't like this because I don't got Amazon Prime.
I mean,
yeah.
Like Ben and I were talking about this. Like, basically, you're going to have a situation where, I don't know, 5-6 years from now, I think you're basically going to have kind of it's so fractured because we talked about like the WWE network, and you have a situation where you can watch that, be it WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, whatever. You can watch it for $10 a month, and you can get everything you want to, which is a lot cheaper than what they used to do for $49.99 pay-per-view. So it took them a while to basically break even with all those things, but now it's something that they do all the time, and it's something you're used to. With the NFL and Major League Baseball and NBA, and heck, probably even college sports to a certain point, you're going to have a situation where everything's so fractured, right? You're going to have you already have NFL Network and Major League Baseball Network and NBA Network, everything else like that, or NBA TV, I should say. And you probably just have these things where, now with Comcast, if you get it, you can get, ESPN or Fox Sports or HGTV or E or whatever. Like, they have all these things you can get, obviously, and then you can get more if you get like HBO, or you can get like certain sports packages, NFL Sunday Ticket, whatever. Eventually, they're probably just going to have something where everything's so fractured. You're going to have your like sports package, you're going to have your like entertainment package, and even the sports package is probably going to get broken off a little bit like that, because like Amazon's doing it right now and Twitter did it before that, but Netflix is probably going to come around and say like, look, man, how much do you want? Like, we're giving like Dave Chappelle and basically everybody you can think of all these like Netflix specials, for X amount of money. Like, how much do you want to broadcast these games? You want $50 million? Cool, here's 60. Like, give us these rights. Like, I can see that stuff happening to where everything's so fractured, and you have the NFL having their own thing where you have to pay $9.99 for Netflix, but now you get the NFL with that. You pay $10 for Major League Baseball, but it comes with Hulu. Like, I can see these things totally like fracturing and just splintering everywhere.
Yeah, and for me to watch Thursday Night Football on Amazon, I would either have to pay $99 per year or $10.99 a month. Mm-hmm. Where on Twitter, I can do it for free. So that's why I'm really disappointed that Twitter didn't get it back. And I'm a huge Twitter guy.
But the thing with Twitter, the thing is, Twitter, we can talk about how it's, it's cheap for us for Twitter, but also that probably means Twitter can't offer them as much money.
Yeah, which
Twitter offered them $10 million,
maybe,
and then Amazon came over the top with 50, and Twitter's like, never mind. We're not doing that. Now that also opens up the situation where you can have something like Google or Facebook, something like that, to where they
I can definitely see maybe YouTube.
Yeah,
going there. Yeah,
YouTube is probably one of the easiest ones, just because it's already live streaming a lot of things. Now they got to probably work out some of the glitches that they might have, because it's one thing to live stream, something. I'm trying to think what they actually live stream. Like, they'll live stream like a comedy show, or they'll live stream like concerts, something like that, right? But it's another thing to live stream an actual NFL game where you're going to have literally millions of people watching it.
Yeah, it might crash. And speaking of live streaming on YouTube, they live streamed the WrestleMania pre-show on Sunday. I was watching it during the San Francisco Giants game when they were playing the Arizona Diamondbacks on opening day. It did. And I will discuss that in the baseball podcast. But the reason why I bring up WrestleMania, and I know there's a lot of people listening and saying, we've
talked about WrestleMania before.
We're getting to the fake sports, guys. Come on now.
That's
I'm
fine.
like, yeah, I know. Well, you watch movies? Well, those are fake too. Okay. But anyways, getting back to the WrestleMania pre-show, it was streamed live on YouTube, because WWE, they do a lot of live streaming on its YouTube page.
Right.
One notable moment on the pre-show, though, was during the Andre the Giant Battle Royal,
my boy,
which was won by Mojo Rawley. Mojo Rawley's boy was also your boy. Gronk was there, and he was in the front row. I think the dude was Jinder Mahal, right? That I think in the script, there's a script that says that wrestler would just random wrestler would just go up to him and, I guess, throw a beer at his face.
Sure.
So that wrestler was Jinder Mahal. And he did that, threw the beer on his face, and then, of course, Gronk. You don't do that to Gronk.
Mm-mm.
So Gronk, came out of his seat,
Yep.
went over the barricade,
Yep.
and, one of the security guards, I don't think, was in on
That was my best. No, that was
it wasn't even in on. I don't think the security guard at that moment that was trying to keep him out.
That was the best part because
I don't think that security guard.
No,
was
she
in.
had no idea because like she could see her. She's just like, no, there's a fan, and then you can see someone else like tapping her, like, yo, no, this is fine. This is part of the whole thing. But she was just like getting her, like she's the only one. They have like 5-6 people like close in the area, but she's the only one running around. Like, why is nobody else doing their job? And they were like, no, it's fine. This is how it's supposed to go.
She wasn't even in on the whole thing. But anyways, Gronk makes his way to the ring.
Yes, he does.
Takes his shirt off like Gronk does.
Of course he
gets
does.
into a 3-point stance.
Yeah.
And then, boom, knocks down Jinder Mahal. And then he gets all hyped up. And then Mojo Rawley, they shake hands. And then they bro it out for like 2 seconds. And then Rawley wins.
Right.
This was probably the best moment of the pre-show by far.
Mm-hmm.
And this was probably, and I'm like, when I'm watching this, I was like, I don't think they told Gronk this was fake. I think he legitimately wanted to kill the guy.
I think Gronkowski, I think he just kind of told him, it's just like, yeah, you want a WrestleMania moment? He's like, yeah. And then he got in there and he was probably just like, I want to hit somebody, 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 I want to hit somebody. And then he just is like, because then he started doing these weird kicks, which didn't make a lot of sense. Like, they didn't connect.
Yeah, I know. I saw that. I was like, what?
And, I understand that, wrestling, the job is basically to make it look real.
What he was doing, he wasn't connecting on the kicks, right, which you're not really supposed to, but
sure.
He didn't make it look real.
Right.
But he was really, he was on the top rope just swinging it up and down, making it look like he was kicking him.
Mm-hmm.
But, we talked about this on Friday, and we talked about maybe Gronk, we would love to see him in the WWE one day. It really happened. You have no idea how hyped up I was. I was like, oh my gosh, we so called this.
Well, the other thing was he's bigger than most of those dudes, man.
Yeah.
He's 6'5" or something like that, 250. He's bigger than a lot of the wrestlers they have. I could see Vince McMahon afterwards, once Gronk retires and call it 5-6 years or whatever it is, him basically getting a call from Vince McMahon saying, hey, do you want to make an appearance or something like that? Not being an actual wrestler because that takes time to, hone your craft and everything else like that. But we've seen football players or just athletes in the past want to do the stuff like that. We've seen Ronda Rousey, who she made her, brief appearance at WrestleMania a few years back. We saw, back in the WCW, WWF days, you had Karl Malone, you had Rodman do stuff for WCW. We've seen athletes come in and just do Lawrence Taylor.
And then we see Adam Jones a couple years ago.
Adam Jones went to TNA.
With TNA, yeah.
Yeah, Lawrence Taylor literally headlined a WrestleMania against Bam Bam Bigelow.
So probably still one of the worst main events of WrestleMania of all time.
It was strange. I don't know why they did that, but yeah.
It was a dark time for the company.
So, it was in between Hogan and basically Austin. It was that in-between time, yeah. And I wouldn't be surprised if Gronk did because Vince is always about kind of hyping things up. So I can see Gronkowski being the perfect guy to do that because he would just basically come out and just spew nonsense. Just nonsense. Just say he'd basically be Mojo Rawley's hype man, which seems like a double negative because he can do that himself.
Next year, you know what? Next year for WrestleMania 34 in New Orleans, I want to see the High Bros, if they're even still a tag team by then.
Right.
Be managed by Rob Gronkowski and a match for whoever. I don't care. Just put them on the main card. Book it, Vince. Book it. Just book it, Vince.
I don't think there's another player that's probably better than that than Gronkowski. I think Gronkowski is just the best situation for them as far as they want to get an NFL player in a wrestling, whether WrestleMania or wherever. He's the best option they probably have as far as sport wise outside of Conor McGregor. Yeah,
basically. Yeah. So I'm telling you right now, book it, Vince. Book Rob Gronkowski, WrestleMania 34.
Mm-hmm.
We will love it. All right. So now let's get back to real sports here. And Chad Johnson, he's still playing football.
I feel bad for him, man.
And he it's not what you think it is. Of course, he's not in the NFL. He's not even in the CFL. He's not even in the indoor football team. Not in the Arena Football League. He is playing for the Mexican Football League, and he scores an easy touchdown that goes for 41 yards. And watching him play on this team, that's really not fair. It's not fair at all.
The best part of it was when he like juked the guy to get a touchdown. It's like a universal sign of every single cornerback, whether you're professionally in the NFL or just in the Mexican Football League. He immediately looks back and is like, "Where's my guy? What? I need some help, safety!" And like he immediately starts getting mad at people. It's like, "I thought I had help." Like he automatically gets mad at him, and I feel bad for Romo, man. Like, not Romo.
Well, I feel bad
for Romo, too, because he's getting yelled at all the time. But, like, no, dude, I felt bad for Chad Johnson because he so clearly wants to play in the NFL again, man. Like, he last played in 2011 with the Patriots when they went to the Super Bowl and lost to the Giants the second time around. He so badly wants to be back. And, like, he doesn't have the talent to be in the NFL because the people who are in the NFL are that, like, top elite of everybody else, and he's not that guy anymore, even though he's still more athletic than you and I combined times 50. And I think he so badly wants to, man. And he was a great wide receiver. He had like 11,000 yards and almost 70 touchdowns. Like, he was legitimately one of the best wide receivers of the era, right? He's just never going to get into the Hall of Fame because, well, if Owens doesn't have any chance right now, there's no way Chad Johnson gets anywhere near the Hall of Fame. But he still had a great career, and all he wants to do is basically get back and play just a little bit longer, but no team will sign him outside of apparently the Mexican Football League.
Yeah, and this was for one game for the Monterrey Fundadores. I hope I'm saying that right.
Right.
But it's one game. This was to gain exposure for the Mexican Football League. I think they've been around for 1 year.
Which it did.
So, I can see him coming back, but I just want to let you know that's how far Chad Johnson's career has fallen.
Right.
He is playing in a Mexican Football League where they predominantly play soccer, the other football. That's how far his career has gone.
Basically, yeah, man.
All right, well, that's going to conclude our show. We talked about a lot today. We'll be back tomorrow to discuss any type of news that happens over the next 24 hours. As always, I'm Jeremiah.
And I'm Anthony.
And I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in to the Goins to Me Concepts Football Podcast. You guys have a great day and a pleasant tomorrow.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.